Everyone. So, like I said in my previous video, that I'm serving my notice period. So, these are some of the questions that was asked to me in the recent HCL interview that I gave. So, before we begin, I would like to request everyone, in case if you find my work helpful, so please consider subscribing or like the video. So, let's begin. So the first question that was asked was to tell them about myself and the roles and responsibilities that I deliver in my current project. So here, please ensure that whenever this question is asked, you are ensuring you are informing about yourself in a very descriptive way so that it will give them a high level idea of what exactly you do in your project. The next question was asked, it was a scenario based question. Like, say, there are two users, user A and user B. So, both have the same permission sets assigned. Okay. And there is a field called sports, and we want to show cricket, football, and hockey to user A, and to user B, we want to show volleyball and basketball. So the question here was, how would I approach this solution and what are the considerations? So always keep in mind that for these type of questions, we have to ask some cross questions. Like what I asked was whether both of these users have the same profile or not. So this is what I could think of at that moment. So the answer from the interviewer's side was like both have different profiles. So it was easy for me that we can, if both of them have different profile, then we can assign different record types, and with the help of record type, we can control the pick list field and the values in the pick list field. Now there was one more question, like there are say three users, user A, B, and C, and all of them have the same role. And say C is owning a salary record that should not be visible to B, but it should be visible to A. And the OWD of for that object was like public read write. So how would you approach this? So just try to think of this and do comment if you know the answer. Then I was asked like what are the best practice that I follow while writing a test class. So I explained about it. Then there was one follow-up question which was like say in your org there are five Apex classes like handler classes we have, and those classes are getting coverage from multiple test classes. So say one Apex class is getting for 75% of that mandatory coverage from multiple say four test classes. So the question here was whether it is possible, okay, and if yes, so is there anything we can do to ensure one Apex class gets coverage from one test class? So think about it, and if you know the answer, do comment. Then there was one more scenario from the test class itself. Say we have five test classes which need to create test data in all of them. So for example, we have a test class where we need to create a data for account record. Okay. So is there any way we can ensure we don't need to create test data again and again? Okay. So I hope I'm clear here. So basically they want us to come up with some solution here where we don't have to create the test data every now and then. So yeah, that was the question. Then it was a simple one. What is asynchronous apex? So I had to ensure that I'm explaining everything, all different types of asynchronous apex. And there was one follow-up question, like of course the difference between the future and queuable apex, which is very much common in any of the interviews you go for. Then there was one more question, like is it possible to call a batch class and feature method inside a trigger? Okay, so for this type of questions, of course, I prefer to say that yes, it is possible, but this is not the best practice because if we are calling a batch class inside a trigger, then there are high chances that we will get some errors. And of course, for future method, we can. Then there was one more question. Like say you need to pass data between two components which are unrelated. So how will you do that? Like of course, if it was on the same component or same application, so we would have gone for the LMS, Lightning Messaging Services. But here we had a condition, like assuming both the components are on different applications, say application A and application B. Then I was asked, please explain the life cycle hook in terms of that parent to child relation that we have in LWC. So yeah, this was one of them questions. Then I was asked to write a code, basically to write a trigger to avoid deletion of account if it has more than two contacts associated to it. So I had to share my screen and write the trigger for this particular scenario. Then this was the question, like what is the difference between the with sharing and without sharing? Once I answered that, all of a sudden there was one more question. So can you tell me the different governor limits that you have personally faced in your projects while working? And also the solution was asked, like what I did to overcome those errors. So it was not just that I had to tell about the different governor limits that we have, but the ones which I have encountered in my projects. So that's it, I think. Yeah. And so, guys, if you like my work, if you want to motivate me, please feel free to like and subscribe the channel. So it will definitely motivate me to keep continue the work that I'm doing. Thank you.